Okay, want to welcome all the newcomers to the Shir. It's a pleasure seeing everybody here. We've had a long break due to Binyamin being in Miluim. Be'ez Hashem. Hopefully he won't have to return there again.
They kicked him out. That's true. It wasn't voluntary that I came back.
Okay. Now we're a week away from Tisha B'Av. The 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, is next week. So I want to talk a little bit about Tisha B'Av and what it means. So there's a Gemara in Yuma. I assume you all know what Gemara is, right? Everybody knows what Gemara is. There's a Gemara in Yuma. It says, why was there a Chorban? There were two Chorban Beis HaMikdashes. There was the Chorban Bayis Rishon, the Chorban of the first temple, and a Chorban of the, Chorban means destruction, and a Chorban of the second temple. So it says, Mikdash Rishon, the first temple, why was it Charav? Why was it destroyed? Because of they had three terrible cardinal sins, cardinal averas: Avodah Zorah, Gili Arayos, and Shvichas Damim. Avodah Zorah, idol worship. They had Gili Arayos, immoral behavior, and Shvichas Damim, there was murder. There's murder. There was rampant. Unfortunately, too much murder going on. And then it goes through, brings proof for this, and then the Gemara says, but Mikdash Sheni, why was it destroyed? Because they were Oisik B'Torah. They didn't have all this. There was a decent society. They were Oisik and Torah and mitzvahs, and they did Gemilas Chasadim. So those are the main saving grace of Klal Yisrael is Torah, mitzvahs, and of Gemilas Chasadim. So why was it Charav? Because they had sinas chinam. This is a very famous Gemara. They had sinas chinam how do you say it? Sinas chinam, hatred for no reason. Hatred for no reason. Uncalled for hatred. We won't get into that. They have many shiurim on that. What's the sinas chinam? Tell you that sinas chinam is just as bad. Hating people for no reason is just as bad as avodah zorah, gili arayos, and shvichas damim. I want to concentrate on the Bayis Rishon. It says in Bayis Rishon, Mikdash Rishon, why was it Charav? Because of Gimel Averis, terrible Averis. The people had sunk into avodah zorah, gili arayos, and shvichas damim, and that was considered something that a Kodesh Baruch Hu couldn't stand, and therefore he had to cause the first destruction of the Beis HaMikdash through the Babylonians. There's a problem with this Gemara. The Gemara is not supposed to contradict itself, but it does. That was a Gemara in Yuma Daf Tes. That was a Gemara in Yuma Daf Tes. The Gemara in Nedarim and also in Bava Metzia gives a different reason for the Chorban, and it quotes a pasuk. That Gemara. It also quoted psukim. Here we quote a pasuk in Yirmiyah. The pasuk in Yirmiyah says, "Mia isha chacham v'yavin ez zois." Yirmiyah says, "Who is the chacham? Who is the wise man who understands this?" The Gemara asks the question, what does this mean? The Yirmiyah is telling us that they looked at the Chorban Beis HaMikdash and they couldn't figure out why it happened. What was the underlying reason? Why was the reason that Kodesh Baruch Hu gave up on the people of Klal Yisrael and Bayis Rishon in the first temple, and he caused the destruction? It was Nishal l'Chachamim. This question was asked to the Chachamim. There were great Chachamim in the Bayis Rishon, and they couldn't answer it. It was asked to the Nevi'im. You had many Nevi'im in the Bayis Rishon. You had Yirmiyah, Yeshaya, Yechezkel, Zechariah. They asked the Nevi'im, why was there a Chorban? V'lo Pirshu, they couldn't explain it. until HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself came to Yirmiyahu and gave him a prophecy and told him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'atzmo, it says, Vayomer Hashem al ozvom es Toirasi. They forsook my Torah.
Where are you reading from, Rabbi? What's the...
Gemara in Nedorim Pei Aleph. It's based on a pasuk.
This is not the classical concept. It's not Gideon. This is the... Okay.
Sorry?
It's not the classical Kamsa Bar Kamsa story in Gideon. This is
No. Well, Kamsa Bar Kamsa is by Yesheni. That shows you... Well, that was by Yesheni. That shows you Sinas Chidam, how they hated each other. He was thrown out of the party for no reason. Like, don't be such a... So you don't like the guy, but let him stay at the party. He's willing to pay for his meal. So, that's Kamsa Bar Kamsa. That's Sinas Chidam. I'm talking about Bayis Rishon. Bayis Rishon, so the first Gemara says, Avodah Gili Rais and Shvichas Domim. The second Gemara says, Al Ozvom es Toirasi. Now, what does it mean, Ozvom Toirasi? The Gemara asks, what do you mean, the Ozvom es Toirasi? They forsook the Torah? They forsook the Torah? So the Gemara answers, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Ein Mevorachim b'Torah Techila. They were not making a Birchas HaTorah before they learned. They weren't making Birchas HaTorah. We know if you learn Halacha, you learn Orach Chaim. Birchas HaTorah is. There are two brachas which are Torah from the Torah. All the brachas are from the Rabbanin. The Rabbanin instituted by the Rabbanin, and there are two brachas which are instituted by the Torah itself. That's called Midiaraisa. Midiaraisa is Aramaic for Torah. So these two brachas are Min HaTorah, which are Birchas HaTorah and benching. When you bench, the three brachas of benching are from the Torah. The Gemara in Brachas explains this, and we know from the other Gemaras that Birchas HaTorah is also Min HaTorah. So what do you mean they weren't making a bracha? They didn't know. This is they were following the Torah. They were learning Torah. They didn't make a bracha on Torah. What does that mean? Rabbeinu Yonah, the Ran, there's a parish of the Ran. The Ran was a very, very Rabbeinu Nisan. So he was one of the great Rishonim. He's got a parish on the Gemara Nedorim. He brings down another great Rishon called Rabbeinu Yonah. This is the famous Rabbeinu Yonah. He wrote many Sforim on Musar, and he was also a great Rishon. And he asked the question, what do you mean they weren't making a bracha on Torah? And they didn't know? It says they asked, why was there a korban? Because they weren't learning Torah. Now, if you're telling me they were learning Torah, but they didn't make a bracha on Torah, they didn't know that they weren't making a bracha on Torah? They should have been making a bracha on Torah. So he says a very interesting thing. Ama of the Oretz, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, he understood what was going on deep down in their lave. The Chachamim, they could tell only what's going on by viewing the society. Even the Nevi'im, unless they had a Nevuah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they were very great prophets, and they could read into things, but they had to see things in order to read into it, and they couldn't understand about this concept not making a Birchas HaTorah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu explained to them, they were making Birchas HaTorah, but Lo hayas HaTorah chashuva beineihem kol kach. They didn't feel, you have a cookie in front of you, right? So how many people pick up the cookie? Now, are you going to say that bracha was important to you? No. You just rattled it off. How many times you've been in a minyan and they're about to daven mincha? Ashrei, right? They daven. It's called davening ashrei. That's what they call it. It's the classic example of just davening. For what? Davening for the sake of davening. Why are you davening? Because I'm davening. Why are you saying a bracha? Shakal Nivoro. What's Shakal Nivoro? You ever heard of a bracha called Shakal Nivoro? I've never heard of a bracha Shakal Nivoro. You've heard of Shackle Navarro? You've heard of Bruch Shackle Navarro? You know, when they made the Birchas HaTorah, it was in that category. Why? Because the Torah wasn't important in their eyes. It has to be something that's so important that you want to make a bracha on it. I want to make a bracha in the morning, right? Asher kedeshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lasoik b'divrei Torah. Kodesh Baruch Hu told me to be oisik in the Torah. And he told me, v'harevno, make it sweet. And then we make a bracha, the third bracha. Asher bochar banu, I'm so proud, happy that the Kodesh Baruch Hu chose us. Bochar banu. V'nosan lanu es Torah, so he gave us his Torah. That's what the bracha says. Nosan lanu Torah. He gave us the Torah. Baruch atah Hashem noisen ha-Torah. It's given to us by a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's something important to think about. So how does what do we do now with the other Gemara? The other Gemara says, Avodah Zarah Gili Rai Shvichas Damim. This Gemara says because they didn't feel that the Torah was important. So we have a Medrash. The Medrash tries to explain. Yes, they were not. They got to a level. They had sunk to a level. It took them 400 years. The first base of Mikdash was 400 years. 400 years of the Shoftim, from the time of Yehoshua until Shlomo Melech. There was 400 years, and then approximately, give or take, and then another 400 years. So it's approximately 800 years, give or take, right? Of that, the first base of Mikdash was around. We had the first base of Mikdash from Shlomo Melech when he built it until it was destroyed by the Babylonians. And because they did not, right, then they sunk to a level where they had Avodah Zarah Gil Yirai Shvichas Damim, right? They had forgotten about Yetzias Mitzrayim and they just sunk down. Terrible, terrible, terrible sins. Why? Why did Klal Yisrael? They didn't have they learned. They had traditions. They had Shoftim. They had Nevi'im. They had prophets. And they had the concept, they were Jews. And they sunk to such a low level. Why did they sink to such a low level? So says the Medrash. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he would have overlooked Avodah Zarah Gili Yirai Shvichas Damim. The Medrash in Eicha, in the Psicha of Eicha, he says HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have overlooked these three big cardinal sins. Avodah Zarah Gili Yirai Shvichas Damim. But Mo'asa Shel Torah, it's a very harsh word, Mo'asu. Mo'as means like, I don't like saying it. Yeah, disgusted by Torah. Mo'asu, yeah. Disgusting. Yeah, the Mo'asa, they trampled on the Torah. They didn't respect the Torah. Lo viter al Mo'asa shel Torah, al ma'ovda oretz. This Gemara is telling us because they didn't respect the Torah, and therefore they did not have the ability. They didn't have the wherewithal to withstand all the temptations and all the trials and tribulations they went through, and they got influenced by the goyim around them, and they sunk to a level of Avodah Zarah, Shvichas Damim, Gil Yirai, just like the goyim. When I was growing up, we have it today also, but Torah in Europe, because of the Enlightenment, the Maskilim, they took the Torah, they did the same thing. We had great rabbis, great rabbanim, and great yeshivas, and Rosh yeshivas, and poskim, and tzaddikim in Europe. 300 years ago, you had the Vilna Gaon, you had the Baal Shem Tov, you had great people. Along came the Enlightenment. And they went to university. They wanted to be free because the Goyim, all of a sudden there was a spirit of freedom that swept over Europe and everybody was being let free. And they took off the restrictions on the Jewish community. They allowed into college. And they started studying in colleges. So what they do, they took the Talmud and they brought it into the university and they started studying the Talmud like you study science, like you study arithmetic, like you study mathematics, like you study physics. It's another subject. I don't know if you've read these analyses, the scientific analyses of the Talmud, and the Talmud became another subject. It was just a subject. It wasn't a holy book. Why are they learning it? I want to learn the Talmud because it makes you smart. The smartest lawyers have always been those who learned Gemara. You have a Gemara cup. Brooklyn University. I remember I had some friends who went to Brooklyn University. They took law, right? And they sat back in the back of the class, and they were joking with each other and reading. I think maybe even reading comic books in the back, and they were getting B's and B pluses in the course. And when you had the non-Jews in the course, and they were struggling, and they worked very, very hard, and they couldn't get a C plus or a B minus. They couldn't get it. And the teacher says, "What's with you Jews? You're not even working, and we have a Gemara cup. Once you learn Bava Basra, once you learn Bava Kama, once you learn Sanhedrin, you can breeze through anything in law. It gives you a Gemara cup." They were learning Gemara for the sake of information. It's not worth making a bracha on. I'm making a bracha on that. It's just another subject matter. That's what happened in Bayis Rishon. They were learning because it made you smart. It taught me laws of life. I learned Orach Chaim. I learned laws of life. I learned the ethics of the Father. I learned proper ethics. Proper ethics. They have ethics classes in university. Ethics, right? So we have ethics of the Father. They call it ethics of the Father, Pirkei Avos. That did not save them because life is hard. Life is hard, and we get influenced by the Goyim, and that's not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted, what is Torah? Torah is. We have to realize, it says in the Medrash, it says in the Zohar, in Bereshis, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, how did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the world? You know what I said when I say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what I mean, yes? Yeah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. He looked in the Torah and he created the world. The Torah is the blueprint of the world. More than a blueprint is just a piece of paper, and it's got the design of whatever building I'm going to build, an architect. It's got all the plans on it. The Torah is the blueprint. The Torah is the soul. The Torah is the soul. Everything that the Torah says, the whole world is working according to the blueprint. Today, we live in a marvelous time. We live in a marvelous time. The Mekubalim, the Mekubalim, the Kabbalists, so they say towards the end of time, right before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a opening up of the gates of wisdom from Shemayim. So what happens? You look around what's gone on in the past just 50 years. I remember growing up, and they had this cartoon. They had a comic called Dick Tracy. Remember Dick? You don't remember Dick Tracy? And he had a watch.
We didn't have these things in Ohio. We didn't have these fancy things.
He had a watch, and it was a telephone, and it had a video, and everybody said, "Wow, like real science fiction." Science fiction. Come on, buy an iWatch, and you got the same thing today. It's amazing. What we're going through, the science.
What's an iWatch?
These kids are asking what a watch is every day.
Yeah, what's a watch? Yeah. So today we have computers. Today we have computers. Computer is the most wonderful. It's the most. It's such a wonderful paradigm. The Chafetz Chaim says, why are all these new instruments coming into being in our generation? Because we've forgotten that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upset. He said, we've forgotten HaKadosh Baruch Hu can look. People don't think, yeah, you know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't see me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't see me. You know, he's up there and I'm down here. I'll tell you a cute story I heard. I just saw on Mordechai Eliyahu Zatzal. He was sitting. Mordechai Eliyahu is one of the great Sephardi Rabbanim. Like, you know, he wore the cloak. You know, like the Rishon, the Rishon LeZion. You know, huh? He was a Rishon LeZion. He was a Rishon LeZion. So he was on a plane, and next to him was the Saudi ambassador. I don't know where he was going, why there was a Saudi ambassador on the plane, but there was a Saudi ambassador on the plane. And he's got two wives, an old wife and a young wife, right? And the stewardess came around and offered him a meal, and he says, no, I only drink water in a disposable cup. So all he had was water in a disposable cup, plastic cup, right? And the stewardess went to the Saudi ambassador, the shagrir, the consul. So she handed him the meal, and the old lady, his older wife, looked at it and says, "That's pig. That's pork. We don't eat pork. It says in the Quran you're not allowed to eat pork. What are you doing? Give it back. Stop." So the younger lady says, "What are you worried about? We're up here. Just, you know, enjoy yourself. You know, nobody's looking. Nobody's looking." So the Saudi ambassador says, "Yes, Allah can see me downstairs. Allah can't see me in the plane." Right? He can't see me in the plane, right? So he enjoyed himself as his younger wife wanted him to do, not like his older wife who had more seichel.
Rabbi, just to be clear, that's not what Jews hold?
So they got down, they came down, right? And Mordechai, I don't know he doesn't say where he was going, but he came down. There was a whole contingent of Jews waiting to greet Mordechai Eliyahu. And maybe he was Morocco or something like that, or Egypt maybe, and there were still Jews there then at that time, and they lined up to kiss his hand, a whole line of people lined up to kiss his hand, and the Egyptian ambassador, he said the shagrir, the Egyptian shagrir was like standing there, didn't know what to do. You know, he wanted to greet the Jewish ambassador, whatever the meeting was. So he went over, you know, stood on line. He went over to Mordechai Eliyahu and he kissed his hand. So he went back, and then Mordechai Eliyahu was watching him, and the Saudi ambassador started reprimanding him. "How dare you? How can you kiss the hand of a Jew? Don't you have no self-respect? You should wash your hands now." Right? And so the Egyptian ambassador didn't like what he said. He got back on line and he kissed his hand again. Then Mordechai Eliyahu went over to the Saudi, right? He went over to give a greeting to the Saudi ambassador, and he put out his hand and he says, "Allah," and he said in Arabic. All of a sudden he said in Arabic, "Allah watches upstairs also." Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. That's what they hold. We hold the Kodesh Baruch Hu can see upstairs. That's why Kodesh Baruch Hu created. The Chafetz Chaim says that Kodesh Baruch Hu created a telephone. He can hear what I'm saying. He created the photography. This photography just came out at the time of the Chafetz Chaim. When a person is doing a theft, they have the guy. He's at the door and he's about to break in. So they took a picture. Say to go upstairs. Well, I don't know. Did you steal? I don't think so. Well, what is this picture? Oh, so he said in order to give this more of a personal impact of that. There's an eye watching. Then you'll see, yeah, but how long does it last? So now we have digital. It lasts forever. Not only that, we have digital video with sound, with Bluetooth, wireless. Where's the wire? Where's the wire from Shemayim to Aretz? We have, you don't need a wire. You got radio waves and Bluetooth waves, and we have all this in order to impart upon us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has eyes all over the place. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a computer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a computer. What's a computer? Computer is a program, and it's got on the screen. Everything's in the computer. Everything's in the program. This program is what makes the computer run. You have a robot. What's a robot? It's got a computer inside. And the program, everything is in the program, what makes it run. Now we can understand how evolution. How does an animal work? An animal is a glorified computer. He's got a computer inside, and the computer makes him run. He only does what the computer tells him to do. Now he's got a sophisticated computer with animal instincts, and he's able to react and everything like that, but an animal is just a glorified robot. That's all he is, glorified robot. So we understand that the computer program makes everything work. The Torah is the computer program of the universe. This is what we have to understand. Kadosh Baruch Hu created the universe. He put into the Torah, it's not just the blueprint. You'll read that Torah is the blueprint. Torah is the computer program. It's the motherboard. Not only is it the motherboard, it's the electricity. It's the power source. The Torah is the power source of the entire universe. If we follow the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted, and He gave us, so He gave us, that's what's running the universe, is the Torah. Now when He gave us the Torah at Har Sinai, He made us partners in Maisa Bereshis. We are partners. Kadosh Baruch Hu created, He's running, He's the grand computer, programmer. That's what a Kadosh Baruch Hu is. He's the grand computer programmer. Right? Constantly adjusting and tweaking this program to make everything, that's how everything is happening through in the world. Kadosh Baruch Hu's grand motherboard. He made man a partner in the creation of the world, and we have control over the whole world. When we learn Torah, we are imparting power into the world. We are partners with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah. He wanted us to be partners with Him. Not only that, but it affects us. The more we get connected to the Torah, the more it imparts the Kedusha. Kadosh Baruch Hu is Kadosh. He's holy. He's holy. He's not earthy. He's not earthly. He's not material. He's holy. Person learns Torah. It surrounds him. He becomes part of this, and it has an impact on him. And that's why you see the great Talmidei Chachamim. They're holy people. How they get that holiness? How they become different? You see that they're different. The great tzaddikim, they're different people, all because of learning the Torah. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted all of us to be like that. Halavai, we should all be Nevi'im. And everybody should be able to have a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should speak to us like Nevi'im. Halavai. When Moshe Rabbeinu, he chose 72 people to be on the Sanhedrin, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu put from his gave them, imparted Moshe Rabbeinu's holiness onto the Sanhedrin. They should be able to judge the people properly. There were two who stayed in in the camps, they had humility. They didn't feel that they were right to go out. Eldad and Medad, and the Nar came, and Yoshua said, lock them up. They're saying that they have an Nevi'us, and they gave a prophecy that Moshe is going to die before he wouldn't get into Eretz Yisrael, and Yeshua is going to take over. And so Yeshua didn't like that. Said, no, put them in jail. Kloyim, put them in jail. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says, why, you jealous? Halavai, everybody should be a Navi. That's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants. Halavai, everybody should be a Navi. Halavai, everybody should be holy. Now, we can't be a Navi. We can't be so great. But whatever we learn, however you get connected to the Torah, Torah is not mathematics. Torah is not science. It's not economics. It's not law. It's not just another subject in university. Torah is all-encompassing, and it changes the person. It makes him connected to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu saw when they forsook the Torah, al ozvam es Torasi, when they forsook the Torah, they lost that connection. Everything became earthy. Once you lose that connection, once you lose that holiness, and you see the people who they become less and less religious, and they become more prone to terrible traits of Avodah Zarah, Gilui Rais, Shvichas Damim. You've heard of Feldman from Baltimore, Aaron Feldman from Baltimore. He had a brother, Emmanuel Feldman. He was a Rav in Memphis. I've seen this. Our history demonstrates, as soon as you neglect Torah, let's take America. Anywhere. It could be Europe. It could be South America, Australia, wherever it is. Let's take America. I'm familiar with America. The Jews came over where they didn't have yeshivas, where they didn't have schools, where they were not learning Torah. The people assimilated. Slowly but surely they assimilated. We lost so many people. The level, even when they kept mitzvahs, but it was all external. It didn't affect them. When my father was born, there were maybe 3 yeshivas in New York. There was Torah Vodaas, RJJ, Torah Vodaas, and Chaim Berlin. That was it. There was now the Baruch Hashem, right? I had a good friend of mine who was from Denver. He was born in Denver, and he says in Denver, the yeshiva, the frum community now is on the west side, but on the east side there's a giant synagogue on the east side of Denver. If I get I'm not sure east or west, but on the other side of Denver there's a giant. It's empty. It's empty because they never had any yeshivas until Aaron Cutler sent a group of Jungelite to make a kollel in Denver. Then all of a sudden they made a kollel. They brought people in. They started learning with the community. They established schools. They established the shiva. Now Denver is a thriving community. Any community where they have thriving. That's why there was such a battle that we had with Ben Gurion, and he didn't want to allow he didn't want to allow the. I don't want to get too much involved in politics, but they want now. There's such a battle over the B'nai Torah. This is not about that they need manpower in the army. It has nothing to do with manpower in the army.
It took me, Reggie.
Yeah, there's nothing to do with manpower in the army. They've all the time. You ask the people higher up if they'd make a professional army, it would be fine. They have enough manpower for a professional army. It's in order to make a melting pot. This is what Ben Gurion said, and all the officials, and you read between the lines, is to make a melting pot to water down the religious observance of the Haredi community. And to take away the boys from the yeshiva, you take them in the formative years, you take them during the formative years between 18 and 24, 18 and 23. Those are the formative years when they're getting, so that you take them, put them into an army, and they're not going to get they're not going to get it. And that's why there's such a fight today, because it's an existential fight of the Haredi community against the forces of the atheist Zionists that want to make a new Israeli. Sorry, I said this political thing. When we study Torah, this is what they don't understand. I've spoken to many of their rabbis. When we study Torah, we're not studying an abstract and arcane text. We're not studying a subject of the ancient world. We're studying the way that God wants us to live on this earth. We're engaged in discovering the essence of Judaism, which is, say, the essence of ourselves. Torah reveals to us the mind of God and contains the deepest secrets of the universe. We have to realize Jews are the people of God. We are the people of God. Many people have been amazed, the Goyim have been amazed at the resilience of the Jewish people. I'll just read one article that I found, a French imam. This is Imam Hassan Halgoumi, can't even pronounce it, Halgoumi from Dancy near Paris. And he wrote this just as it was right after what when Israel bombed Iran, and he wrote this: I, a son of Ishmael, an imam, a Muslim, a man of peace, hereby present my sincere testimony about this extraordinary people. I must admit, I believe in religions and miracles, but there is something about this people, the people of Israel, that feels like a living miracle. A people the pharaohs tried to erase 3,000 years ago and failed. A people the Babylonians tried to annihilate 2,500 years ago and failed. A people the Romans tried to wipe out 2,000 years ago and failed. A people the Nazis tried to exterminate 80 years ago and failed to erase. A people the Arabs have fought in 5 years to wipe off the map and failed. This is a small nation in number, but unique in strength. A divine blessing. Wherever it lays its hands, it succeeds. In finance, commerce, science, philosophy, literature. A desert turned into a paradise without oil or gas, liberty, democracy, intelligence, determination. For 2.5 years now, this people has been fighting on 5 fronts. They said it was tired. Everybody said they're tired. Everybody said they're about to collapse. But they surprised the world by opening a new front against the Iranian enemy, a one that frightens all the Arab regimes. I find no other word to describe them but a nation of miracles. If the Arabs had a clear vision, they would choose to unite with this people, to learn from them, to cooperate with them. Perhaps they would absorb some of their knowledge, wisdom, and dignity. We are people of miracles. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be around. Yes, He destroyed the first temple. Yes, He destroyed the second temple. He put us into exile. The Romans fought us. The Crusades fought us. The Cossacks fought us. Everybody has tried to wipe us out. We've been expelled from every country in the world. Go to the United Nations. Any country that's in the United Nations, they've had Jews expelled from them. They expelled the Jews. And if they didn't expel the Jews because there weren't any there. And we're still here. Because Baruch Hu wants us around. And in 1948 a miracle happened. Something changed. Something changed. I'm not going to be a prophet and say, but something changed in 1948, after World War II, after the Holocaust, something changed and we came back to Eretz Yisrael. This is the beginning of the epic of the Mashiach, of the Messiah. Something's happening now. It's going slow, and it's going slow on purpose. It says in the Gemara, how's the Mashiach going to come? How's the Mashiach going to come? It says, Be'ita achishena. One place it says Be'ita in its proper time. Another time it says achishena. I'm going to bring it fast. Zachu achishena. If we would have been zoiche, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have hurried it up. Years ago, we would have been zoiche to the Mashiach coming. We would have had a rebirth of Eretz Yisrael again. Many, many years ago, but we weren't zeicha. Loi zachu be'ita. It says there's a time period, the end of the 6,000 years. We're getting closer to 6,000 years. 5786. How many? What's left? We're getting close to the end of the 6,000 years. So we're getting to the time of be'ita.
224.
And it says,
14.
If we would have been Zoicha, it would have been Anani Shemaya. There would have been miracles. It says the Mashiach, everybody's thinking about the time of the Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be miracles. It says Ani Roicha V'Chamor. No. It says Ani Roicha V'Chamor. If we're not going to be Zoicha, and it seems that we're not Zoicha, Ani Roicha V'Chamor, like a poor man riding on a donkey. A poor man riding on a donkey, first of all, is poor. We're poor of mitzvahs. Look at the nation we have. Unfortunately, we're poor of mitzvahs. Most of the Israelis, unfortunately, they've been the Kadosh Baruch Hu, he brought us back to Eretz Yisrael in a very, very strange way. Who brought us? We would have expected him to bring back. A Navi should have come. We've come back to Eretz Yisrael. There should be a rebirth of Torah. Instead, we were brought back to Eretz Yisrael by a bunch of atheists, Russian communist, socialist atheists. Ben Gurion was a socialist. Huh?
The first Aliyah was religious.
Huh?
The first Aliyah was religious.
Years ago, originally, right? The Baal Shem Tov, the Talmidei Agrua. We were here first. They said we're stealing the country. We were here first. The religious people were here first. They came and they stole the country from us. They say we're stealing the country, trying to take over. No, they took over. These are the atheists. These are the Enlightenment. The Jewish people who threw off religion, threw off the shackles of religion. They're atheists. And they brought us back because Baruch is doing strange things. And we're an ani roichav al chamor. Chamor is a donkey, but also the word has chomrius. The word implies chomrius, materialism. It also implies going slow. A donkey doesn't go very fast. So it's schlepping. It's schlepping, going slow and going slow. But we have from history, it's not going to stop. He's going to do it. He has never forsaken us. Not the time of the Romans, 3,000 years ago, not the time of the Nazis. We're still here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has never forsaken us. But, you want miracles? This is what I always say. You want miracles? Be God's people. Look at the thing as a miracle. 1967, they had a miracle that they got through this. It was a miracle that everything worked out. 1967 was the whole world war is a miracle. It says after 1967, there were no tefillin left in Meir Shorim. People said it's a miracle, it's a miracle, it's a miracle, and then back again. After October 7th, right? People all of a sudden started doing tshuva. The people started doing tshuva, started keeping Shabbos. But the radio and the media, they made sure that it would die out, and it did. And now there's they're hunting down all the religious Jews, making a civil war. And in spite of all that, if they would just, if they would realize that everything's a miracle, everything's a miracle. How many miracles have we seen? And yet, Akash Baruch doesn't let it happen. Everybody asks the question: of all the countries in the world, when you win a battle, when you win a war with someone, you take over and you dictate, right? The United States dictated over the Nazis what the terms of the treaty is going to be. The winner dictates the treaty. All of a sudden, by the Jews, they win the war. 5 wars we won against the Arabs, and the Arabs dictate the terms. No, you're not allowed to win. Why is that? Why is God doing that to us? It makes us so many miracles, and then when we finally win, boom, you're not allowed to win. Because we're not doing it right. If you do it right and believe in miracles. A journalist reported the journalist went to Gaza, and he was with a group of soldiers. And we had conquered a certain area of Gaza, and they sit down to eat. And one of the soldiers took out a can of tuna fish. You know, the can of tuna fish, it's got oil over it. You know, you can barely eat it. But, you know, it's cold. So what do? You take a lighter, you light up the oil.
No, we take toilet paper, and we light the toilet paper. And that's how you
right. And you're right. And it makes smoked fish, right? Makes smoked fish, huh? Right? So he did that with the tuna fish can. What are you doing? There's ammunition all over the place. It's going to blow up. Get rid of it. So he took it. He threw it into one of the Arab houses there. Boom! All of a sudden, when they took out their rifles, they started shooting. What's going on? The tuna fish can fell into a tunnel where they were holding munitions, and it blew up the munitions, and the Arabs thought that they had been sighted, they had been found, and they were being shot at, right? So therefore they came out with white flags. All of a sudden, a whole bunch of Arabs came out of the house with white flags. A can of tuna fish. A miracle. Just a few days ago, the Arabs, they're throwing drones. The Hezbollah throwing drones. It's terrible. You know, the missiles you can spot on the Iron Dome, but here the drone, the radar doesn't pick it up, right? So there was a chaplain in the armies. He put up an Eruv in a certain area up north. And then he put up the area, you know, the string and everything like that, you know, so that they should be able to carry on Shabbos, right? 2 days later, a drone came, and guess what it got caught on? The Eruv wire. It stopped the drone. It just exploded over there. It didn't come into the army camp. We're a nation of miracles. This is a nation of miracles. If we would recognize that God is running the show, we say every day, I'm just ended with this. I want you to concentrate when you daven. In Oz Yoshir, what do we say? In Oz Yoshir, what do we say?
Can you just say where that is in the field?
Oz Yoshir is the shira is the song on the Yam Suf. When they came out of Egypt and they split the sea, so they sang a song. They sang a song. Hashem, it says, Zeh Keli Vanveu, this is my Lord and my God, and I will glorify him, the God of my father, and I will raise him up, Aramimcha. Hashem ish milchama, Hashem shmo. God runs the war. That's what they don't understand. They say, we won. Right? We won. 1967, we won. They blew up the pagers in Hezbollah. We did it. Jewish. No, he gave you a good idea. You had siyata d'shmaya. God runs the war. And when you get a little bit later in davening, after Kodesh Kodesh and Baruch Hashem, Lakel Baruch Nimosh Yitenu, Ki hu levadoi balo milchomos. Concentrate on that. Hu levado balo milchomos. If we want to win this war, we're having a Tisha B'Av. It's coming. We lost. It's getting close. We're gonna Be'ez Hashem. We should have no more Tisha B'Avs. We're getting towards the end, and the Mashiach is going to come soon. But we have to prepare ourselves. There's a war going on with Iran. I have another whole schmooze about Iran and Muhammad's Gog and Magog, but I ran out of time. Right? It's got all the signs of Muhammad's Gog and Magog. Right?
Ready for the record, everyone thought that you were wrong when you said that Iran's going to win. Remember, you said you gave it like 6 months ago?
Then we're not finished yet.
I know, but I'm saying
we're not finished.
Everyone was like, oh,
I told you, Ani Roiche v'Chamor. We're not finished yet. They don't give up. They don't give up. Bill O'Reilly, of all the people, but he's got a seichel to him. He's got, he says, the only way with an Arab is to wipe him off, nuke him. Otherwise, they don't give up. They won't give up. Anyway, but Be'ez Hashem, the Mashiach is going to be coming soon, but we have to prepare ourselves and recognize Sahal's not going to win this war. As long as we say Sahal's going to win the war, the United Nations is going to make sure, the United States, they're going to stab us in the back, like Trump is doing, and they're not going to let us win. How are we going to win? Hashem ish milchama. God runs the war.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.